set down the Bible, hinting to you what this eighth beast is going to be composed of, follow where the Catholic Church is. Germany, Italy, Greece, Poland, Spain, Central America, South America, and I'm sure I'm leaving out some more Catholic nations over towards Central Europe. Austria. Follow Mystery Babylon. Great Britain, not going to be in this end-time beast revived empire. The EU must die according to Bible prophecy, and Great Britain will not, and the northwestern nations of Europe probably will not, most likely will not be a part. The House of Israel will not be a part of this end-time beast kingdom. With that, I have an article here. Jean-Claude Juncker compares British membership of EU to a doomed romance. EU Commission President says people should not stay together if conditions aren't the same as when things started. The first time he has contemplated a British exit. My friends, the EU must die. The seventh revived Roman Empire, where a woman sits on her, must die, and an eighth beast must appear, which has no woman riding on it, because the woman will be annihilated. Revelation chapter 17 and verse 15 through 17. Follow the trail of where you have the most heavily Catholic nations. And there, my friends, I think you are going to find who this beast empire is, including Central and South America. One thing they're going to do is they're going to surge up into North America, the United States, Edom. He's going to overrun the borders of his brother Jacob. He's going to take possession. He's going to assist in what is left of the Israelite peoples to deliver them up to the captivity. Jean-Claude Juncker, I hope I pronounced that right, has compared British membership of the EU to a doomed romance and suggested it is time for Britain to get a divorce from Europe. It is the first time the President of the European Commission has publicly contemplated a British exit, and he reinforced his message by insisting he would not get down on his knees to beg Britain to stay. We'll get to what I want to say in a minute. People shouldn't stay together if the conditions aren't the same as when things started. It's easy to fall in love and more difficult to stay together, he said in Paris this weekend. I am for the respect of member states, respect between the institutions and member states. I am against all forms of groveling. Mr. Juncker, whose appointment to the EU's top job was opposed by David Cameron, told an elite audience of French officials that he was ready to discuss British demands for treaty change, but set out red lines in the sand, over what we'll get to in a minute. In a blow to the Prime Minister, the Commission President said the EU would reject, without debate, conservative calls. This is the right-wing populist movement in Britain. Go on here. Conservative calls to change treaties to give national authorities more powers to stop large-scale inflows of migrants from Eastern Europe. When one mentions the end of the free circulation of workers, there can be no debate, dialogue, or compromise, he said. We can fight against abuses, but the EU won't change the treaties to satisfy the whim of certain politicians. Opinion polls show a narrow lead in support for British exit from the EU ahead of May's general election. 2015 is going to be, it started out kind of quiet. The markets are in volatility, which we knew would happen after the Fed would quit pumping cheap or fake money into the stock market. The United States might lose, very well may lose its world reserve currency status, and you may begin to see the breakup of the EU. We have a Greek election next month with an extreme leftist leading. If he doesn't get what he wants, demands concerning bailouts and things concerning austerity, he may exit out of the EU. My friends, the EU has to die. Many in traditional Christianity think this is the revived, or this is it. They never mention the eighth beast, though. A lot of people, for some reason, don't realize the eighth beast. Nigel Farage, the leader of UKIP, said this is the right-wing populist movement, and it's also growing in France to where Marine Le Pen would be president today if elections were held. And they want to leave the EU too. They want to throw out the elites, who this Jean-Claude Juncker, I'm not real familiar with him, I'm sorry, but I'm not real familiar with a lot of these smaller leaders in Europe. He's an elitist. He's speaking to a bunch of elites, it says here in this article. This is what these populists, they think they've been shanghaied. They want to throw these people out. And they want their countries first. Ethnic cleansing, nationalism, going on here. Juncker has made it crystal clear there will be no change to the EU doctrine of free movement and mass immigration. He said, we want an amicable divorce and a trading relationship to follow. European leaders meet on February 12th to discuss possible changes to EU treaty in order to tighten the economic rules governing the Eurozone to stop Europe's single currency sliding into a new crisis. At the meeting, Mr. Cameron will be asked what Britain expects from any future treaty revisions and what Britain demands will be ahead of his planned referendum on EU membership in 2017. Speaking at the beginning of the month, the Tory leader said that on the question of immigration, Britain would require treaty change. See, he's under pressure from this UKIP party. That's what he is. They're growing more powerful. He's under pressure from them to curb immigration into his country. His comments indicate that some at the highest levels of European politics are now ready to let Britain leave the EU. It's going to leave the EU, and it's not going to be part of this eighth revived beast. Bernard Jenkin, the Conservative MP for Harwich and North Essex, said his language was at odds with the will of British voters. Europe should be about how we recognize each other's differences, yet learn to cooperate, not about dividing Europeans between true believers and heretics, he said. This is the language of dictatorship by the elite, not a democracy and consent. A government spokesman said, the Prime Minister's approach is about the will of the British people who have made clear they are not happy with the status quo. The EU has throughout its history evolved to reflect the interest of its member states. The Prime Minister underlined his support for, article's not done, for principle of free movement in his speech, but there needs to be changes to make clear it is not an unqualified right. So, looks like Britain is going to leave the European Union. Once again, my friends, the European Union, the seventh revived Roman Empire, must die. It must die, but its deadly wound is going to be healed. And an eighth beast, looking a lot different. Follow the mass Catholic populations. It's not going to be just Europe. I'm saying Central and South America also. The secret places of Edom. Edom is going to enter into a confederacy with these other two groups of people, the Chaldeans and the Assyrians, Germans and Austrians. And Edom makes up Germany also, too. That's why you have this red dragon, color of blood, color of Esau. So, that's that for the Prophecy Watch. Britain to leave the EU. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening.